The initial idea for this film came from Brenda Grogan at Centre 70 Adult Centre, Kirkby. She explains why.
Well, it started off because we had some money given to us as the Urban Aid funding, and the idea of that is to provide for unemployed adults. And a few people came forward and said they were interested in having a look at how a video is made and the technicalities involved. So I identified a tutor, and that's how it started. There wasn't a film where the youngsters now could identify, because of the way the people on films were dressed, you know, like KDs and Cuban heel shoes, platform heels. So we decided to gear this video to the drugs problem, to see if it could be used to them.
Through the Community Recreation Officer Howard Jackson, the Kirkby Video Group started to meet at the town's library and started to plan for this film. It was clear that there was a growing concern in the community about the use of hard drugs, such as heroin, especially amongst young people. The media, especially the tabloid press, obviously take a very emotive stance in presenting information on heroin usage. The group then decided to research fully and consult with a wide variety of people working in the drug information field, as we needed accurate, up-to-date information so we could be clear on our own perspective. Our first call was to the local Knowsley Drug Advice Unit, which had been set up by concerned local parents and financed by Knowsley Borough Council.
With me now is John Donnelly, who is the coordinator of the Knowsley Drug Advice Unit based in Sherryfield Drive. First of all, John, I'd like to ask you, how did the drug unit come about?
It was started out by parents from the Tower Hill and West Vale area and some local councillors who felt that in this borough, you know, nothing was being done for young people who'd become stuck with certain drugs.
Can you define a drug problem? What is a drug problem?
A drug problem's just the same as an alcohol problem that we know very well. It's when drugs or alcohol interfere with your work life, your social life and your family life.
And what are the most common drugs used in the community?
Well, apart from cigarettes and alcohol, which put everything else into the shade, the most common drugs are tranquilizers, and behind them come the soft drugs that have existed for years, like pot.
What do you think is basically the reasons behind drug abuse?
I don't know. I really don't know what the main reasons are. All I know is that when an economy slumps, that when things become depressed, then the incidence of drug taking and alcohol abuse and drug abuse rises.
What kind of age range and difference between sexes do you tend to come across at the unit?
Age-wise, because we deal with tranquilizer users as well, the age range goes from 15 to 65. Now, sex-wise, it is mainly men. It's mainly young lads between 16 and 25 who are our main clients.
What help can a drug unit offer people who have got a problem?
Well, basically, at our place, we believe that it's really no good to just preach abstinence to people, and that if you don't offer an alternative to them, then you're really being a hypocrite. So we offer alternatives. If you're trying to come off drugs, then it's odds on you're going to want to take something else up, some other kind of activity, and we offer those activities.
To people who think that heroin abuse is the main concern of the day, what would you say to them?
Heroin abuse is a concern, and it's a concern to all of us, but there are greater concerns which are approved of by society rather than this one. And this one could be dealt with far more objectively if more people realise that.
Thanks, John. Here with me now is Paul Cunningham, who also works at the Knowsley Drug Advice Unit. Right, Paul, I'd like to ask you for your opinions on the relationship between unemployment and drug taking amongst young people.
As far as our unit's concerned, a good 90% at least, I'd say, of our actual clients are unemployed, whether that reflects nationally or not. It's a big factor in young people becoming bored and having not much to do, which is recognised as one of the actual reasons for people getting involved in drug abuse.
Would you agree that the recent concern about heroin is widespread in Kirkby, as some people in the community are beginning to believe?
It's not an epidemic or anything like that. There is a number, shall we say, of young people who are experimenting with it, and there's an even smaller number who are addicted.
Statistics can often be misleading, but this set of fairly recent Home Office figures that we referred to quite clearly showed a staggering rise in the number of known heroin addicts between 1974 and 1983. We next went to Merseyside Police and spoke to Superintendent Peter Deary, head of the drug squad.
The sad death of Jason Fitzsimmons last year, the lad of 14 in Croxteth who died having been dabbling with a number of drugs. Hasten to add, he died from an overdose of sleeping tablets, but I think the inquest did show that he'd been messing about with heroin and cannabis and methadone, and that was at 14 years of age. Very, very sad situation. But as an immediate response to that, the public at large, not just in Croxteth, but right throughout the area, were incensed by this waste of a life, and they gave us a great deal of information. And it seems to me that it almost requires some big story to break to prompt people, you know, well, we've all got an axe to grind in this, we've all got a role to play, let's get something done about it. So the action line is still going, and we ask people to ring in. They don't have to give their names. They will get a kind of a coded signal saying this is the police hotline. If you've got any information, just speak after the tone. Now the number of the hotline is 777 4444.
By now the group had decided it was time to go out onto the streets and ask local people for their views. Were they well informed?
Do you think there's a drugs problem in Kirkby?
Yeah, I think there's a drugs problem all over Kirkby, you know, it's not only in Kirkby. I think it's widespread, you know.
Are you aware that there's a drug problem in Kirkby?
Yeah.
Why do you think people take drugs?
Maybe boredom or something like that.
Boredom.
Well, listen, that one there, you better get her on.
Do you think there's a heroin problem in Kirkby?
She must be on it, yeah.
You're smart. Are you aware that there's a drugs problem in Kirkby?
What am I going to say? Well, there is a drugs problem, but nobody can... I think there is, but it's few and far between. I don't think it's as bad in Kirkby as what it is elsewhere. I don't think it's as bad here.
Why do you think people take the drugs?
Well, I think myself it's the last resort, isn't it? Unemployed. And bravado, yes, bravado. We'll have a try, have a go, and then they're hooked, aren't they?
Through the Prescott Women's Group, we made contact with reformed heroin addict and now actress and campaigner against drug abuse, Jilly Mubarak.
When you started to take drugs?
I was 15. It was while I was on the run from the approved school.
On the approved school. Did you find it to solve any problems for you?
No, it created a hell of a lot more.
What really decided you know, that you would actually give up? That you would try and throw off the addiction?
Well, because I finally realised it was controlling my whole life, and I was in and out of prison. And when I was outside prison, it was just a fight all the time to get the drug. You know, where's the next money coming from? And I ended up on the streets.
Did you feel at that time that the other people around you, I'm talking about the people who you portray very well in your performance, the people who were the do-gooders, if you like, did you feel those people didn't really know what it was all about?
No, some do-gooders and some do-badders, but yeah, they don't, and when you're that young, they don't ask for your opinion on anything.
No.
They just assume they know what's best for you. I mean, like magistrates. I know I've been in front of magistrates who really thought prison was the answer. You know, you're going there for help, you can get treatment there. And they really believe that.
Yeah.
If you say to magistrates, you know, the state of the clinics, you can't get on at a clinic. They just don't believe it. Because they think, well, like a lot of the public think, that these clinics are there and that you can go to them. But they don't realise they're so controlled, and that it takes, I mean, it can take 6 or 7 months in London to actually get to see a doctor for a methadone script, you know.
Did you decide of your own volition? You know, I'm going to kick this.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, it's not going to control me the way it is.
Well, I decided quite a long time ago, but I couldn't find a doctor that I felt safe with. You know, my probation officer was going to therapy with this doctor, and he took me on, although his policy is not to take drug addicts because he's only a GP. But he kind of took me in good faith, you know, and he doesn't make any demands on me, and he let me cut it down as I wanted.
But how long did that take?
It's taken about 9 months since I first went on with him,
We wish you the very best of luck.
Lovely.
Really.
Well, I hope it, even if it helps one person watching it and makes them think what they're going into.
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. Anyway, take care of yourself.
Do you think there's a problem with prescribed drugs, you know, like the medical drugs, tranquilizers, Valium, Librium?
It's not a problem, but like some like to get it, take drugs from that. Do you think there's a problem with prescribed drugs? Of the doctor? Just like that.
I didn't know he prescribed them.
Yeah, you know the likes of Valium.
Oh, yes, he gets them too freely. You get them Valium too easy from the doctor. He just, he gives you them Valium to push you off, doesn't he? Yeah, I took them once. I was ill at once, and the doctor gave me the Valium. I took one. I was in another world of my own. I ended up with my daughter coming in and my house on fire.
There's no alternative really speaking to every problem, you know, and let's stand up and face it.
The group discovered heroin was not the only growing drug concern. There was also a big problem with medically prescribed tranquilizers, such as Valium, Librium, etc., especially for married working class women. One such working class woman and mother, who had suffered many